Cool. So we are here to talk about the Hitchhiker's Guide to Upgrade Backstage. Don't panic.
Hey everyone, I'm Jenil and I'm a staff software engineer with Harness. I work on IDP team in Harness and been working on Backstage for last 2.5 years. And currently, our Backstage instance is serving about hundreds of customers.
Cool. I am Deba. I work as a founding engineer at Parsable. And by de facto, I get to contribute to Parsable DB, Kubernetes, and Backstage. Before joining Parsable and building an observability platform, I was working with Jenil in the team, in IDP team at Harness, where we have been upgrading Backstage because we have built solutions on top of Backstage, not just for our own use case, but serving hundreds of customers. And we have been upgrading Backstage pretty much every quarter. And this talk is focused on the experiences, the lessons we learned, so that it serves as a guide for you while you are trying to upgrade your Backstage. So let's start. So before starting any upgrade, it always starts with a why. Why do you want to upgrade? Especially in enterprise in production instances in enterprise, security patches are very, very important, especially in today's world where there are CVEs, RCs coming left and right. You obviously want to be on the latest version of the patch that does not have the vulnerability. Second, obviously new and shiny features. Backstage releases once every month, and there are pretty new features that piles up every 2-3 releases, and you would want to be on the latest version to have the new features. And obviously, bug fixes. We suggest you to be not very far from the latest version, like maybe just 2 or 3 versions back, so that you have all your bugs fixed, most of your bugs fixed. And then it's performance improvements. Like it's especially for Backstage, it is very, very important because it's a developer tooling catering to developers, and you want your UI to load instantly. You want your searches to load instantly, and for that is one of the major reasons why we also upgrade Backstage. Well, before we go further, how many of you have tried upgrading Backstage before here in this room? And how many of you have done it on like production instances, not on your home playground? Cool, that's quite a number. So basically, with every Backstage version getting released, we are quite tempted to upgrade. And let's say sometimes it just doesn't go away. It leads to some or the other error, and we ending up trying to it's always a search and find out and get your things right. But most of the times it goes very well. So let's see how we did our first upgrade. So this was the experience of our very first upgrade that we did after trying to run a Backstage in our production instance. And at that point of time, we didn't had very much customizations. But yeah, let's see how it goes. So shout out to the team here, the maintainers of Backstage, the contributors. The change logs are so well detailed. It is so meticulously written that a lot of the times we have figured out what package in what particular version we don't want to upgrade, and saved ourselves from a breaking change. And so we read the change logs first of the version that we want to go in our next release. Then there is a CLI command, which is my favorite, personal favorite. So you can go and run this yarn backstage CLI version bump release to the particular version you want to upgrade, and it will pretty much automate the whole task for you. Then there is an upgrader tool which shows you the code defs of the files where you need to copy the code and change for the upgrade to happen. This is very useful because you exactly know on which file we are changing what, and from the previous versions what has updated or what has changed. Well, then it worked for us. We deployed, and we felt that everything worked. First upgrade, pretty easy, right? Just 4 steps. And it went well. Congratulations, you are on the latest version of Backstage. Not just Backstage, but pretty much on the latest version of everything. So you see, there was a small problem that occurred here is when you use a CLI tool to upgrade, it introduces this carrots in your package.json file. And the type of upgrade that Backstage does is majorly the packages are upgraded to minor version upgrades or patch upgrades. And when this carrot is present in your package.json, unwantedly, it will upgrade to the latest version of the latest patch or latest minor version rather than what is intended for that particular release version of Backstage. Well, how did we fix it? We wrote a script, pretty simple script, which uses regex to replace this carrots. So after running the CLI command, we run this thing to get rid of these carrots. Most of the time, this won't land you in a problem because these are minor releases, but sometimes it will put you in, it will break your system and you won't even realize that it broke because of this latest version upgrade because you have read the change log and in your mind you are like, okay, when I am upgrading to this version, this is the particular package version that I would be in, but it doesn't happen that way. So you need to be very careful about these carrots. Well.
Okay. Yeah, so the previous upgrade went fine for us, and it was time to upgrade to have a new upgrade. And this time, as a front-end engineer, I was very excited because Backstage was moving away from React 17 to React 18. And it got all of us excited, but there was a small problem with us. We were running Backstage in a module federation environment, and we were dependent on platform. And platform was running React 17, so we can't have two different versions of React working in the same environment. So we had two options: either we upgrade the platform to React 18, or we try to upgrade Backstage without upgrading the React. We went with the later one. We decided it will be easier to try to upgrade the Backstage without upgrading the React and try it out. And we did it. And fortunately for us, everything worked fine except one library. That was Swagger UI React. So this was the error we saw on the screen. So we went again in the docs, started looking for what is the issue here. And we realized Backstage internally upgraded the version of Swagger UI React from 5.10 to 5.11. And Swagger UI React says 5.11, they moved to React 18, but they are backward compatible. But that backward compatible didn't work for us out of the box, and we had to rely on one of the Yarn solutions, and it was resolutions. So we used Yarn resolutions to pinpoint this particular version of Swagger UI React in our Backstage, and voila, after that everything worked fine. So one of the lessons we learned from here is sometimes there will be situations where your versions will mismatch or your version will not work with your current setup. You can use Yarn resolutions, but be careful because it's like a double-edged sword. And things will go fine, but anything can go wrong as well. So if you're relying on it, just ensure that you have tested your code thoroughly. And after that, we were good. But 7 days into production, upgrading the Backstage, we realized we have a small problem in our tech docs. So in our current setup, what we have is we are mounting Backstage on a subpath. So we are mounting Backstage on abc.com/ let's say Backstage. And when we use any routes abc.com in tech docs, it breaks because TechDocs was using window.location.origin as the base URL instead of app.base URL. And it was an issue for us because we relied too much on internal navigations. So what we did, we went ahead, we found the issue, we fixed it, we raised the PR, and it got merged. And we were happy, unless we saw this message. Our PR is merged, but it will take a month to be present in a release. So what we did, here comes the instant gratification. We upgraded to nightly build. Especially for the tech docs, we upgraded to the nightly build. If anyone in the room doesn't know about it, Backstage each day publishes its packages as nightly builds. It has the latest code, and you can use it. Though it was not a full Backstage upgrade, just an upgrade to a TechDocs package, but we did run an entire sanity and entire dev testing on it, and we were good to go. So this is something we suggest that if you have some critical fixes that are not present in the current release, you can always rely on nightly builds to fix them. But yeah, you need to test it thoroughly. That's a warning it comes with. Okay, that was a small backstage upgrade for us, and it went fine, and we are jumping into the next upgrade. And this time, the next upgrade was pretty challenging to us, and this was the time when Backstage officially introduced the new backend system. New backend system was present as alpha since last couple of versions, but this was the release where Backstage introduced new backend system and asked every one of us to upgrade to the new backend system. Well, if it was a simple setup, it would have been pretty much easy for us, but we have a lot of customization on top of Backstage, and it was valid for our backend as well. So one of the customization we have is we don't read the entire config from our app config file. What we do instead is we dynamically fetch our config via API call. We dynamically fetch all the secrets that are present in that config via API call in encrypted manner, decrypt it, then stitch all of the configuration together, and then feed it to Backstage. Second thing was, before this version, Backstage didn't had auth middleware. What that means is Backstage endpoints were not protected by default, but they had a guide around how to implement your own auth middleware. So we went ahead and implemented that auth middleware, and we built some customization on top of it. So the guide suggested you can use Backstage token, but we added support for XAPI token, even harness tokens, even support user access token you can use to access the Backstage. And this was a small breaking change for us, but we went ahead and upgraded the Backstage. And one thing we learned from here was, it was our habits to look into the docs. Like whenever you try to upgrade, you look at the docs, and here like Backstage has pretty good docs. But this time we realized like the docs were not enough for us because we wanted to go and change something in the depth, and docs didn't had that. It has shallow knowledge of what needs to be done. And we relied on Backstage code rather than docs more here. So we had this habit of, from the beginning, that we used to go inside the Backstage code and look around what things are going on, what changes are being made, what are the new features that are adding, what are the bug fixes. So we had a pretty good handling of code base of Backstage. And this time, the understanding of code helped us a lot. This was our config before, and this is how it looked after upgrading to new backend system. Same with the auth middleware. I have just commented out few details because it was too long. And it was migrated to this one. And after that, everything worked fine. We shipped the new backend system. And this is pretty much our journey of upgrading the Backstage right now. We had few minor Backstage upgrade here and there, but we have skipped out of the stock. But with every Backstage upgrade, we always had a single question on our mind, like what could go wrong? We are using it in production, and we have very strict SLAs around it. So what could go wrong? And one of the things we experienced was the toughest thing, if anything goes wrong, is rollbacking. So it was a regular scheduled Backstage upgrade for us. We upgraded the Backstage. We tested it in our local environment. Things were good. We tested it in our development environment. It was good. We promoted that build to QA. And for us, QA environment is pretty close to production. Anything that happens on production needs to be followed on the QA. Apparently, there was a platform issue, not Backstage, but some other platform issue, and that forced a rollback. So we had to roll back all of our services, and that included the Backstage. Well, Backstage plugins, especially the backend plugins, runs a DB migration. And it's not always they run, but with few versions, they run. And they have a defined up and down commands there. Up is basically the migration, and down is basically the rollback commands. And thing is, when you deploy an older version of Backstage, it won't work out of box. And you have to roll back manually. And this has been mentioned in the Backstage docs, that you can exec into the server and run the next command to roll back. But as this is pretty much closer to production environment we can't just exec into the pod and run the next command because it is a security concern for us. We can't just SH into our pods. So what we were following was, with every release, we also used to look at all the migrations that are being run. And we converted all those migration scripts into an SQL scripts. And our DB admin guy used to take care of rolling back. And this is what we followed. We looked at all the migrations. We wrote a SQL script. And we gave it to DB admin, and things were fine. And this one was like done way before we were made aware of that we need to roll back. This is part of our Backstage upgrade that we need to follow. And apart from just the upgrading, when we deploy Backstage to any of the environment of ours, after deployment, we always test a rollback, and it's a part of upgrade checklist for us. And yeah, this is the pretty much the bad, I will say, rollback experience for us. We found out after 1-2 upgrades of us, like us upgrading the Backstage, but we figured it out. And just on a funny note, when I gave the rollback SQL script to my DB admin, he asked for the rollback of that as well, which I was pretty surprised, like I need to give a rollback. But anyways, we wrote it and gave it to him. And yeah.
Cool. I think we are at the last upgrade. So pretty much we saw how to upgrade and how to roll back. Now there is an interesting upgrade coming up for us, the front-end system. It is pretty much in alpha, and I think soon enough it will be in production ready, and we have to upgrade to the new front-end system. Well, I would say we are pretty much in the same scenario as we were with the backend system upgrade, because this is how our front-end system looks as compared to Backstage. We have built huge customizations and granular airbag because of our use case, because of the enterprise needs. And this is going to be challenging. Maybe see you next year. Well, let's just summarize what we discussed on how do we upgrade and what do we need to take care of. So always read the change logs, and don't upgrade 4 or 5 versions together. It is never a pleasant experience. We have done it and learned the hard way. Pin dependencies, this carrot thing, because identifying the issue that has happened due to minor package upgrades is very difficult. And as Jenil focused on the rollback strategy, no matter how simple upgrade we do, whether it's just an nightly build upgrade, we have a rollback strategy upfront. And I think our engineering culture doesn't also allow us to move ahead with any upgrades without this rollback strategy. And basically the nightly builds part, obviously as a developer and as a team, you don't want to wait for a month for the next release to happen. So you can rely on nightly builds for small fixes, but it's not suggested. It's just some urgent fixes and just quick instant gratification. And then the very, very important thing when we started using Backstage as well in our company, our team was responsible to read all the Backstage code and understand what is written. And even we are well versed with the BEPs. We keep a good eye on that. If someone of you don't know that, the Backstage Enhancement Proposal. So you will see all the enhancement that is coming up in Backstage and discuss there. You should keep an eye on that. You should understand what changes are coming up and be prepared for that. And the most important thing, don't panic. Community has got your back. The Discord is quite active. We have got a lot of help. And believe me, the response time in a project like Backstage is very fast. And our PRs get merged quite instantly when we want help. And the community is always there for you. Well, this is the checklist we use before upgrading, during upgrading, and after upgrade. Pretty much what we discussed, and pretty much what we religiously follow when we upgrade any new version to Backstage. Cool. We are open for questions.
We do have a couple of minutes for questions, if anybody has questions. No? OK.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.